You have a space, you have some artworks in there, and you're just trying to sell it. The thing is that 2024 we opened Bratislava.
And I think this is one of the interesting things that art can do is kind of transport you into a certain space.
Finally, there is this like information in the world that it's not that easy, it's very difficult, and it's fragile.
Hello everyone, welcome to another Art Seen Unseen podcast. My name is Gabriel Brockman. I'm here with my good friend Patrik Steinhauser, and we're going to introduce our first guest, actually, the first time we've had a guest on the show.
Exactly.
I'll leave it to Patrik for the introductions.
Well, that's my good friend Niki Bernath, and Nico is the owner of Vunu Gallery. We are here sitting in one of his galleries in Bratislava, but Nico actually started as a gallerist in Košice, which is the eastern part of Slovakia, and you also have a gallery in Vienna, in Austria, and we will probably dive into that a bit deeper. But first of all, very happy to have you. I myself, as I can tell it openly, I'm a huge fan of your program. People say you are ultra contemporary gallery. That's. We can discuss that if that's the truth or not, how you feel about that. But definitely what I really like about your program, you have your own signature. And this is what we have been talking about in the past episodes with Gabriel.
Well, I have a history with digital art, and this is the first time we've featured anything digital, specifically in the podcast. And it opens up such a crazy amount of topics. I don't know if we'll have time to get through everything, but I definitely want to cover digital art, pop-up spaces. I want to talk about like kind of the off-gallery scene, which is kind of what a pop-up represents in my happenings. You know, this became popular, back in Warhol times. You know, these instances where things happened and it wasn't about the artifact as much. But also how gallerists and collectors are taking these happenings and then chronicling them and then collecting them as well. So it is possible to collect these experiences, at least in certain ways. And we'll maybe talk about how Nico is approaching that with his gallery in the more contemporary side of things, if we want to call it ultra contemporary or not. But I like that term. It feels okay. So I think that's what we'll dive into. Obviously, for those of our viewers who have watched the podcast, we tend to go wherever the conversation takes us. So welcome, Nico. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to share anything about what's going on here in this space, just to kick us off? This is kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, we have like a video here, which is also not very usual. Most of the time we exhibit paintings or like very standard mediums, but this is a solo exhibition of Dorota Jedináková, or let's say a video installation, because this is like just for a few days, and this is also her bachelor work. The film behind us is called Not the Wound but the Scar, and it's her debut. In terms of film, because before that she was into photography, and photography turned to objects, like it's also very free, and she works with different mediums and materials, but this is her debut film, and it's a proper film, like with a crew and everything, so many people was involved in the process. It has like 8 minutes, and this is a version for galleries. There will be another version for cinema or festivals, like film festivals, video art festivals. So yeah, and it's also not just a film. As you can see, there is like a whole setup, like it's theater setup. So
and there were some challenges to this setting this up. I mean, the screen is quite large. The space not designed for theater per se. But I think art spaces have always been about taking what you have and creating that space that people can rely on, and then always just twisting it a little bit and keeping it fresh, keeping it interesting. And Yeah.
But this is
feels
as
fresh, yeah.
you said, it's a pop-up show, so it's
a
5
pop-up.
days, right?
Yeah, it's 1 week because it's also her bachelor work. So we did like a pop-up because we had this gap in the program before the September, because we have a fair in September. So there is this gap. So it was a perfect timing for it. So yeah, and also like if you want to rent this kind of screen, like 1 week is enough.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I can imagine. But Niko, tell us, you started in Košice, then you came to Bratislava, and then recently opened your gallery space in Vienna. So what would you say is a challenge of having 3 locations, and why are you doing it? I mean, it's pretty much... I can imagine.
It seems like a lot of work.
A lot of work, yeah. And especially, I know your space in Košice is a sort of Kunsthalle, right? Kunsthalle project, or but you can explain.
Yeah, I can explain. It's a bit complicated because now it's part of Kunsthalle Košice, but I started to doing this in 2014. Before Vunu, there was another space. It was an art space, but also open to different arts, not just visual art. And then 2016, we started Vunu. It was my bachelor work. So it was a school project, basically. It was in squat. So no running water, electricity, only one source, many cables, etc. No heating.
Punk rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Punk, yeah.
Typical grassroots guerrilla art.
Yes.
Super guerrilla,
space,
super
yeah.
DIY.
Very romantic.
Yeah, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Actually, it was beautiful. It was part of a club, a klub in Slovak. It was a squad or like community center, but in the city center. It really was something like Berlin and Prague in 80s, 90s, but of course not that rough because there was this deal with the owner. But the building was super rough because it was empty for years, like really, like, I don't know, 20, 30 years.
It's kind of something that I think is unexpected for me being from US, maybe also from Germany, like the number of unoccupied buildings, especially in Old Town. And I'm not sure, there's a number of reasons for that, and I don't want to get into the geopolitical reasons for that, but I always think it's interesting that it's always the artists that kind of first creep into those spaces and start to reclaim them, and then it kind of kicks off this gentrification idea that if Vunu can set up shop in this derelict building, like maybe I pressure my cousin to sell it and we can develop.
Tribeca is a very good example for it. For many years, a lot of galleries from Chelsea or from I don't know, downtown, they moved to Tribeca because first of all the prices just started to increase immensely. I heard about some figures. If they are true, then it's just crazy. And and a small hub during the last couple of years of small, mid, and even some bigger names galleries just established their spaces over there. It's New York, but it happens also, of course, everywhere in every big city. And
also Bratislava has its own stories, but in Košice it's a small city, so it's slightly different, but also it happens there. And also Košice became very expensive past few years. But anyway, after that, I really wanted to have like a proper space with like heating, let's say, water. So I have to say it wasn't a gallery. It was an art space or project space, or call it whatever you want. But it wasn't, of course, not a commercial gallery. So I was doing like a year's non-profit project. Of course, we can talk also about this because I don't believe in non-profit in the art world anymore. I don't think that everything is profitable. But it's a
good point. We will come into that.
It's a different topic. But yeah, I was doing that what we call non-profit for years. Until 2021, and then we moved to the main street in Košice. We had like a nice space with a terrace. It was very beautiful, and of course it was thanks to that we started to have funding from the Slovak Art Council. It was the golden era. Everything was okayish, not like today, but that's also another topic. But yeah, so we had some funding and we started the project space. But from the very first moment, we started to invite like international artists and etc. Also like bigger names, you know. Like I was somehow confident to call the bigger names, and they said yes most of the time. So it was a fun, and my idea was always like to play it. It was a super small project, still is, and very DIY, still is, but to like play it big, you know, like to make it like look like a real gallery or like a project, you know. So
I think you touched on an important point in that things really started to kick off for you when investment got involved, and I think we've been big proponents of encouraging investors and collectors and people with let's say a social responsibility to their communities to consider investment into the arts, whether it's as a collector, whether it's to support gallery spaces or events. You were just at an art fair recently. Those often have sponsor seats available. These are always really good ways to bolster a community that really puts in a lot of hard work. You know, as you said, you're just in a space that wasn't being used by anybody, but you went in, you made it your home, you put on artworks, you represented known artists, elevated the kind of scene in that area, maybe even encouraged development in those areas. And if there's funding for these types of entities, for these endeavors, it really compounds. It's a lot of people say, get an investment on the ground floor, these kind of old adages. But putting it in at this kind of level where, organizers who are putting together shows, who are doing stuff like that, it's really a good spot to look. If you're looking to support the arts, to develop your community, to develop the value of your property, even, for example, having a nice gallery in your neighborhood is never a bad thing.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But how did it then continue? How did you come then the idea to open a second space in Bratislava and later in Vienna?
The breaking point was COVID, actually.
COVID?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For almost everybody.
For almost everyone, everywhere, all at once. It was a restart of many things. And so in 2020, somehow we survived to continue, because also like money-wise, the funding, because everyone was afraid about the funding, because there was, you know how it was. So it was difficult, but it was really okay. This is why I thought that it was a golden era. Everything was okay. The Slow Art Council was very okay with like, everyone had a break, but then somehow we managed to do also online stuff, and and of course I had time to think. So I'm starting to thinking about like doing something slightly different. But I still had no information or like knowledge about the commercial world. But then in 2021, somehow I applied for Volta Basel, and then
which is an art fair.
Yeah, which is an art fair, which the quality is. Yeah, it is how it is. It is what it is. It is what it is. But we went there, but. The best thing about Volta Basel is that it's in Basel. So in 2021, I did my first fair, but that's not the most important. The most important is that I went to check the Art Basel and the Liste. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that, whoa, like, stop, this is another world.
Yeah.
Like a parallel universe.
Yes.
Like something completely different, but it's yes and no, because on the other hand, it's not that different. It's just like a parallel universe.
Same scene, same market, same business,
same
rules.
playing
just something
board,
different, slightly different.
Different rules.
Yes.
And I started to have more and more friends in the commercial world, like good friends. Like for example, my very good friend from Budapest, Peter Bence, and he was running a commercial project, but still very hybrid. And because it was before the long-term handstand, his current gallery. And then I realized that these people in the commercial world, they do the very same thing as me. The very same thing. They just put some paintings or sculptures or whatever.
But with profit.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the
in best case.
But it's the very same thing.
Yeah.
You have a space, you have some artworks in there, and you're just trying to sell it. And because in Vunu in Košice, it was the same thing, just without selling. But then after Art Basel, after all these contacts, I realized that maybe I can do that, So, but it took some time, and in 2024, I was like, okay, I'm opening a commercial gallery, but I knew that probably it's not gonna happen in Košice because it's a very small city. I don't know, 250. Okay.
It's not as connected.
Of course,
to
far away.
International.
It's a bit far away, but also we can talk about this because this is also very interesting how that turned out this year especially. But the thing is that 2024 we opened Bratislava. It was a different space at Nedbalova Street, and I was just continuing to do the same thing, like just to run a gallery, to run a space with artworks in it,
and it was just probably a natural thing to open Vienna.
And somehow I wanted to communicate this, but very naturally that this is a commercial gallery. But it wasn't like that there are prizes under the paintings.
Yes.
But somehow people understood and they realized that it's like that.
Welcome back to the Art Scene Unseen podcast. My name is Gabriel Brockman. I'm here with Patrik Steinhauser and Niki Bernath. All right. Sorry.
3 German names, by the way.
Yeah.
Or at least German sounding.
Yeah. Well, my family definitely has some German heritage.
Mine as well.
So what are we doing here in Slovakia? We're talking about art.
Yeah.
We have actually a really exciting conversation going at the moment. We're talking about Niko's endeavors, starting in the NPO sector, nonprofit art things, realizing that all the work that he was doing can also be applied to the commercial sector, branching out into that in 2024. He opened the space here in Bratislava, followed by a space in Vienna. And we were talking in the intro that some consider you an ultra-contemporary gallery. This is the first time I've heard that term myself. I like it, but maybe you can tell us if that applies. Obviously, we're showing a film here in the Vunu Gallery in Bratislava, and this is the first time this artist has released a film. So this is a debut film project from Dorota Inakova. Pretty cool, and it's only here for a short amount of time. This is a pop-up space, and maybe Patrik can explain the difference between a pop-up space and a traditional gallery exhibition.
Well, this is a traditional gallery exhibition space. So Niko, if I may say, he has his program, which is I think every 1.5 months we have a new program. Yeah. But as he said, in between there was a slot for Dorota, and she.
So it's a pop-up show.
Exactly, pop-up show in a plane.
So generally something that's not planned so far in advance, not part of the regular program, but kind of shows up out of nowhere. So how do you find out about a pop-up space? How does somebody find out that this is going on in the next 5 days? Yeah.
Yeah, it was very natural because Dorota is my girlfriend. So, it's
so easy for you, but for the rest of us.
Yeah, but also it was like a discussion if we want to do it or not, because But then I was like, why not? Of course we will do it. There is a gap, there is a slot, as you said, so of course we will do it, and it's easy. She knows the space, so this is how this happened. But anyway, it's not just because of Dorota. It's we used to do these things. Also in Košice, also here, Vienna is something different, of course. But pop-up shows, but also something very similar as you do, like the institutional shows. Like that's also a special topic that because it's also kind of pop-up. It
is in a way. Yeah, it's an external exhibition
out of program.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we used to do also something very similar as Patrik, like to produce or organize an institutional shows, or let's say collaborations with the institutions or another spaces. And I was doing this also like in Košice for years. It was always like that, because the best thing about Košice, it's super small, but this is the best thing about the city, that you can connect to people very fast, and everyone, of course, everyone knows everyone, which is also good and bad, but there was always like a collaboration with K13, with Islova Gallery, which is like a second biggest institutional gallery in Slovakia. Kunsthalle, Tabačka, like a lot of spaces, Kino Úsmev, like we always had collaborations through like festivals or pop-up shows or special screenings. Also, we did many concerts also, so performative stuff, and it's less and less because I'm here, and also there is Vienna now, so of course it's less and less, but this is my background, you know.
But there was an interesting question from you, Gabriel. When the people on the streets say that or label you as an ultra contemporary gallery, whatever this means, maybe you don't like this term, you can tell us. And what's the difference between the so-called ultra contemporary and, let's say, contemporary, or as people say about us, that we are more about the traditional contemporary side because we are a little bit more into fine arts, which is drawing, sculptures and painting. You are as well, but you probably are a little bit more open to super avant-garde art that you would like to show in your gallery, which is amazing in my opinion. And my question would be, when we talk about this, how do you decide, and when you decide, and probably you do it yourself, about the program that you show that is, let's say, avant-garde, ultra-contemporary, whatever you will call it, and probably not easy to sell or not to sell at all, but on the other side you are a private gallery now, and how do you decide to have this balance in between interesting program and also a sellable program? That would be an interesting question for me to know.
So the good thing is that we have these three spaces, you know, that's a good thing, and of course we do these things mostly in Košice because it's a non-profit. Yeah, I didn't say that Košice is still like kind of non-profit space, or maybe we can just call it like a project space, because also the large galleries, they used to have the project spaces for something like this, you know, that there is a second room in the gallery, or super different, like totally different location. Like you have, I don't know, David Swirner has this 52 Walker Street, and it's like it's a huge space, of course, but it's something for like more intermedia, you know, like installation, site-specific stuff. So for us, it's Košice. Also, as you said in the beginning, it's under the umbrella of Kunsthalle Košice. So we are now part of institutionalized space. Which is amazing for us in many.
I've seen a recent trend of institutional spaces also being more open to more avant-garde or ultra-contemporary media. Kunsthalle in Prague has some really interesting spaces, and they set up their galleries. They're very tailored to the medium that they're exhibiting, and it's not like walking in. You know, you imagine walking into like the Met or something like that, and you walk around paintings. There's some sculptures, and then you walk into another room, and it's paintings, sculpture, and you can walk into these spaces and be really transformed like instantly, and you're just like you're in a different world. Like you're saying a different universe. Like, and I think this is one of the interesting things that art can do is kind of transport you into a certain space. And the reason why this is set up the way it is, it's not just a screen that's in the middle of a wall or something. Like there's a curtain, so it looks like an old theater. There's purpose behind the way gallerists set these things up, and I think I like to see more of that, and it really kind of gives me an indication that an institution is not going to be stale. It's going to be worth my time.
Well, let me call the cultural management here in Slovakia. Maybe we can tell them. But that's a topic here in Slovakia at the moment, of course. And we've had Kunsthalle in Bratislava with a decent program. It was more, let's say, let's call it avant-garde. So it was a little bit more, over the edge, international. But things happen as they did, and now, and this is also a question for you. Because I feel it that way as a gallerist. I think it's on us right now, the private gallery, to push and to support and to, even with our own energy, time, money, of course, we go into risks as gallerists because we believe in that. And I think I can speak also about you, because I see that you have your blood, your skin in the game as well. And I think it makes a difference. There is galleries, they don't care, they have their funds and whatever, and if they whatever they do, they're just existing, in my opinion. And then you can feel when you walk into a space that there is some passion, some blood in the game, and I think it makes a difference, in my opinion.
You mentioned like when you enter a gallery space and you have a kind of hesitance or reluctance to go speak with the gallerist because you don't want to bother them. Yeah. And Patrik, this is crazy. Like we just want to talk about our stuff.
Yes,
This is why we have this space.
Well,
actually,
when you came on Saturday, sometimes he comes on Saturday, and then we have these kind of conversations, and that's amazing. Yeah, for 2 hours. Yeah. And so my question would be how you see it, in general. Like, what is our role as gallerists, especially here in Slovakia, and how do you see it?
Yeah, of course, the situation now is very, very difficult. It's perverse. It's crazy. Like every week there is something happening, and unfortunately not in a good way. But yeah, there was this golden era of funding, and also, we knew that, or I knew that it's not gonna
last forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So also this is why I opened a commercial gallery, because I knew that you cannot rely on one source. Like put everything. It's like a casino, no? Like put everything on a red.
Same as when we talk about advice for collectors, is to not just collect one thing, or it really makes a ton of sense to collect things that you resonate with, but also to think about it responsibly, about how it exists within the greater context. What are other collectors collecting, and what's going seen and what's going unseen is also kind of comes into it. Like,
what's your affection in case you collect it towards the artist, the gallery, the scene itself? Because every decision will affect someone and somebody, and some collectors are aware of that, the other ones are not. Depends.
We were off Biennale. We just walked into one of the residential galleries there. Small. It was a private gallery, and the space felt right to us. And that's where we made a purchase. Like, and it wasn't because there weren't other opportunities to buy paintings elsewhere, or it was during the Biennale.
Sorry, which Biennale was it?
The one in Venice.
Venice.
Benatki, yeah. I guess it was almost 2 years ago now, and it was just a feeling, and the gallerist was very open about talking about the artist, the technique that they were using, and I wish I could remember the name of the gallery off the top of my head, but it was a really sweet little gallery, and these spaces exist, and one of the reasons Patrik and I decided to take their conversations on the road, so to speak, was that we wanted to start to share our passion for what goes maybe unseen sometimes. And that it doesn't have to be these amazing, well-known artists that you push to support, that you collect. We talked about student showings, at Vušovu, or local universities. Supporting an artist in those early stages really is a great way to not only kickstart their career, but to possibly help your own portfolio out as well.
But we know, to confront a little bit our little chatty conversation, there is a trend right now, and we've had recently a conversation about that, and I think I don't know if we are on the same page about that, but we can discuss at least, which is important. Since several months, there is a lot of headlines popping up, especially in the main press, art press, Artsy, Artnet, what have you, that renommé galleries around the world close the doors due to high prices, due to high energy costs, due to the fairs that are extremely important but also extremely expensive nowadays, and due to the pressure towards the team and the owners that you have the pace and you have to keep up with it, no matter what. So the next 3-4 shows, they are not only planned long time ago, but you are already in the executional stage of that.
Yeah,
and,
or that you're already like in a headspace where you're already putting in effort on the next show, and you're not able to take the time. And I think this is not just an art world problem, but I think we get to see and highlight problems quite quickly through the art world. Welcome back to the Art Seen Unseen podcast. My name is Gabriel, this is Patrik, and we're here with Niko. I want to get right back into it because we're on fire and we're running out of time, so we might have to do another episode. But we're talking about this so-called, or the media is talking about the fall of galleries. Patrik thinks it's BS. Niko, your hot take? Yes, no?
I don't know.
In between?
In between, because it's really, really difficult.
It is difficult nowadays, but I think when you show one side, which is true, of course, some of the bigger names are just not around. Paris project in Berlin, great gallery. They had a space in Italy and also in South Korea, for example. But for me, what I would like to see is, okay, you have a certain amount of galleries that are probably not functional anymore for whatever reasons, but please show me the galleries, on the other hand, that started in the same time, because I guess you need to see the ratio, And the second point why I don't believe in that, and I'm opposing this opinion, is because most of the times the galleries that close and that are big headlines are galleries with 12 destinations, like 12 spots all over the world. So it's a huge machinery, it's a multi-million-dollar machinery. And if they close 2 destinations, okay, it's consolidation of the company, So obviously apparently we are not in the best economical times worldwide, with tariffs, with wars, with all the mumbo jumbo that is going on nowadays since a few years.
Mumbo jumbo,
yes, but my position would be that I think it's just a little bit of clickbait, and I don't like it so much because it draws an opinion, or it draws like an opinion on galleries that most of the galleries do extraordinary work. Probably not every gallery, but I would say most of them, private galleries. And we know what it takes to be in that field. And I think it's just one side of the coin. And that's what I'm a little bit not so happy with reading these articles. But you have maybe another opinion.
No, I mean, absolutely. But the thing is that which is good about this is that finally there is this information in the world that it's not that easy, it's very difficult, and it's fragile.
You used to be like, oh, you're a gallery, it must be nice. Just sitting around sipping tea, collecting art, and being all lady.
Where's your Ferrari?
Where's
your Lotus? In Košice, right?
It's still in Košice.
Because sorry to interrupt, but they shown a nice show together with Peter Bence from Long Term Handstand from gallery from Budapest. And it was about cars or vehicles, and they have this real 1976 or whatever.
Lotus Esprit.
Lotus Esprit, which is painted by Selma, exactly, a very well-known female artist. Amazing piece. You can tell us about the insurance problematic you talked if you want, if you don't want.
Another topic. Yeah.
But there is a real Lotus from the 70s in the gallery space. I mean, that's amazing. Okay, so I'm a Lotus fan. I'm a huge fan of Lotus as. Colin Chapman was a great guy in my opinion. He said
such an iconic design.
Yes,
first of all, you see one and you're immediately no question.
And also the engine,
the engine, everything. Yeah, but that's another. We are not in a car podcast.
Not yet. Next time.
Welcome to the Gears Unshifted podcast.
Next time.
But sorry to interrupt, but it's a fragile ecosystem, and a lot of people, even a lot of artists, forget about this. It's not about sucking all the time the gallery. It's pretty hard to.
That's what I wanted to say. That it's good that this information goes through the whole art scene or the art world, only the art world, not the world, of course.
Yes.
Because this is
the world doesn't care.
The world doesn't care. Artists, art workers, anyone, that there's this information that it's not that easy and it's fragile. And of course, as you said, there are many galleries. Or also, I have friends and they are very okay.
I don't know if we really touched on digitization of lives and how the speed, because we talked a little bit about the speed at which a gallerist is expected to keep up the pace. and not having the time to maybe devote to a specific showing or an exhibition. And I alluded to the fact that maybe this is a world problem, not just an art world problem. But I think that would be a really interesting topic to get into at another date. But I just wanted to say that it's important that the artists are recognized, and we try to do that here, both in your spaces, in our show here on the podcast, in the events that we attend. I know that we have there's a event happening in Prague next Thursday, which my wife can't make it, but I'm going to drive all the way over there just for that. But because I think it's important. It's important for me as a collector to make sure that the things that aren't maybe like super headliner or nationally recognized are also getting attention, because I think that those entities, those artists, as I said, if you invest at that lower level, it really compounds over time. Yes. Not just in a value sense, but in a community sense as well.
Yes, yes. I mean, that's definitely a very golden opinion, I would say, from you. And we would wish everybody would think like that.
Yeah. but I think it's not that hard to make that leap.
No,
I think people that have means, that have resources, are always looking for conscientious ways to use that for the betterment of themselves, for the betterment of their society, the world around them, and highlighting art as one really kind of ground level place to put some energy into. Part of the reason why we're able to see these struggles is because of artists, because people are putting art on social media, which. Okay, maybe it's a distraction, maybe it's an addiction. We talked a little bit about that at one point, but it is also a tool that can.
It's a reflection of our daily life, and that's when you understand that. Of course, you see probably the so-called reality in a different way, and that's absolutely right what you say. But I would like to circle back a little bit about the question that got unanswered. What do you think is the role of the private galleries nowadays, especially in times when and that's not a Slovak problem. I know that in Germany it's the same, that the budgets, the state budgets are permanently getting lowered, and a lot of museums struggle with that nowadays. So I think it's a global problem, probably in some areas more or less. But so what do you think is like our role in that, and what's the role, probably as a second question, of the collectors and people that involve weekly or monthly in a gallery program and in supporting the galleries and so on?
Yeah, as you said, it's a global problem. We know that these problems are happening also in different parts of Europe, also Western parts of Europe. Of course, still the budgets there are
different, of course.
Super different, but also the program is different. Yeah. If you are talking about Schinkel Pavilion, who had their problems now, of course their budgets are completely different, but also the program is amazing. Yeah. So they just need those money to keep up. So but here in Slovakia is super problematic. I'm not gonna curse, but
so here's my take on that. At least how to support private galleries. You don't have to be an institutional investor. You don't have to be a big bank or something to come in.
Of course not.
Just go to the gallery. First of all, no cost to you most of the time. Most galleries have either open admission entirely, or very nominal fee, I would say, less than going to cinema for the latest Marvel, whatever it is. But there's also, if you don't ask for the price list, you'll never know if it's within your reach. Yes. And there's often some very expensive pieces in a gallery, and there's often not so expensive pieces in a gallery exhibition. And if you just assume that everything is going to be outside of your reach, you will live your life that way.
Yeah, of course.
And and this is a huge missed opportunity for you to both support the private gallery, to help them curate art collections, to bring more artists in, which brings more attention to the matters, which in turn can also shift political sentiment over time. So, and this is something I think we talked about in one of the first episodes we recorded, that it's, it's happened elsewhere, where institutional support has disappeared. Public funds have gone elsewhere or not been distributed. And yet the private galleries rallied behind...
In Hungary.
It was.
Hungary is probably the golden example.
It is. Definitely.
And I think it also happened in Prague to a certain extent.
But Prague always had quite a good support, I guess. But Hungary is a good point because I know that Niko is very well connected in Hungary, for sure better than myself. And it was always a very closed market, but I feel that it's opening up to the international scene, contemporary scene, I would say. We have
similar to Bratislava.
Similar to Bratislava, yes. We wish to, but of course that's a bigger city and more players even and good galleries, ACB, Einspach Contemporary, and so on. They're doing good jobs. Long-term Handstand we have mentioned. Peter Bense. So, what is your opinion about that? Because you speak even Hungarian from what I know.
I'm what we call Slovenský Maďar, like I'm half Hungarian, So I can speak Hungarian. And that was the thing that from Košice, because I always have to go back to Košice. It's freaking far away to everywhere, and Košice is freaking far away from everything. So the closest city. Proper city, is Budapest. Because there was always a huge connection between Slovakia and Czech Republic, of course, and between Prague and not just Bratislava, also Košice. It's far away, but there was still a connection in the 60s, 70s, during the socialist era.
The first gallery ever opened in Košice, right?
What do you mean?
I heard something like that the first gallery in Slovakia ever was, I think, in Košice.
I'm not sure about this.
I heard about some, I'm not sure. I don't want to say anything
also
wrong,
not sure about this. If the National Gallery, you mean institutional gallery?
No, I think it was even private.
Private gallery.
But let me research that for next time. I don't want to.
We'll come back on that one.
Whatever. I mean, the thing is that there was always this connection with Prague, but for me it was like one thing is freaking far away. The second thing, the connection is already there. So for me, Budapest was something new, and there was no connection. And still, there is now. It's better also because of you and what we do. But there was no real connection. So, and I can speak Hungarian, and the city is amazing. So I started to just go to Budapest. Of course, first you go to institutions, to National Gallery, But then I found some friends and met people and made these connections. And of course, I met a lot of artists. That's the most important.
Which is they have a great contemporary art scene.
They have great scene. And the thing is that basically this is the answer on your question.
Yes.
Because you can see it in Budapest, in Hungary, that when the institutional system is falling down and failed, basically, but they still have institutions, but the support, not the system, but the support failed, then the contemporary galleries or project spaces or independent scene, but it's very difficult. Without support, you have no independent scene. That's also like a loop.
Yes.
But then the commercial world, commercial galleries have to be there, step in, and basically they are making the scene alive.
This has been an amazing discussion. We are at the end of our episode. Hopefully, this won't be the last time Niko joins us for the Art Seen Unseen podcast. It's been wonderful to be in your space today. Thank you for opening up to us, talking about institutional art, talking about pop-up spaces and ultra-contemporary art in the scene, and anything you want to close with?
No,
Patrik?
I would also second and thank you very much, Niko, for joining us. It was hopefully not the last time. I think I would have another 20 questions I would like to talk about to you, both of you guys. And I'm enjoying it every time. So thank you very much also, Gabriel. And
Thank you to Marek Bartovich behind the camera. He's our fearless producer.
Yes.
Or maybe fearful.
And I just realized we all three have long hair, right? You know? What does that say about us?
we have a special club. And,
That's right. Also, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us. You can find us wherever podcasts are found. Please do, wherever you can, go support your local private galleries, support your local artists, get involved in the community, show up for vernissages, ask for price lists from your gallerist, they won't mind.
And let your hair grow.
Yeah, and let your hair grow. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.